And joining me now on more from tonight's meeting with the president is none other than Texas Governor Rick Perry. Governor, good to see you. How are you?
It's good to be with you. Welcome to Texas.
It's soon to be a citizen, I hope.
Indeed.
The president said that you made sense. The conversation was constructive. What do you say?
Well, I'm glad the president thinks that what I said makes sense because we've been saying it for many years now. Since back in 2005, we've known that this border was a real issue, and particularly in '09, we had signaled the president and signaled Homeland Security of the massive amount of problems that could occur, and they needed to secure the border. And I will suggest to you, had the money been spent back in those days to put the National Guard troops on the border to bolster the Border Patrol, we wouldn't be seeing the issues that we have today. And it is a humanitarian crisis. And that, I will suggest, is the reason the president needs to come to the border, to see it himself. I think about the criticism that George W. Bush received when he didn't go to New Orleans at Katrina. This is no different. This president needs...
Did you ask him?
Absolutely. The first thing I asked him when I got on to Air Force One, I said, Mr. President, I said, I really want you to come and see this, because I said this is important for you to absorb as a father, but more importantly as the President of the United States, to see the humanitarian crisis and to also understand how you can move the Border Patrol forward, away from the 45 miles or so back they are today, to be right on the border, to see what the Department of Public Safety is doing with our gunboats in the river to stop the criminal activity that's going on. That's what the president needs to see. He needs to understand instinctively and intuitively and with his own two eyes what's going on that border.
So you think he's making a mistake by not coming? And he talked about, you know, well, I sent this guy, Jay, whatever his name is, down 6 times, Jay Johnson.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that if George Bush had said, well, I sent my FEMA director down multiple times, that he would have still been criticized greatly, because you need to go. That's what governors do. That's what presidents do. When there are natural disasters, when there is crises like this, a president needs to be there to show the American people, number one, that he understands.
You were first invited for what I guess you viewed as a photo op to meet the president on the tarmac, and you said, no, but if you're willing to talk about the humanitarian and national security crisis, I'll be glad to meet with you. Right. President, did he give in to pressure? Did he seem like he wanted to be at the meeting? Walk us through it. Well,
I think the president thinks it's important to talk to governors. I certainly hope he does, particularly one that I may have been a bit of a thorn in his side through the years, but I've tried to do it in a respectful way, in a thoughtful way, and what I think is right for the people of the state of Texas, and in this case, what's right for America. I didn't want to just go show up on the ramp in Austin, Texas, and shake his hand and say, welcome to Texas, Mr. President, when the fact is we have a humanitarian crisis on our hands on the southern border, and the president needs to be engaged. The president needs, he's coming to Texas, he's 311 miles from Austin to McAllen. I mean, Air Force One's a pretty fast ride.
He's used it quite a bit, $44 million worth, according to the last estimate. Let me ask from this standpoint, you requested specific things for him, and the president responded. What did you ask for, and what did he say?
And the president said that all of these, philosophically, he said he agreed with all of these. The first was to put the National Guard to secure the border. And we know how to secure the border. Steve McCraw, the director of the Department of Public Safety, we've done enough surges. We know how to put the resources on the border to drive down the criminal activities astoundingly low. I mean, it's amazing what happens when you surge in, when you show that force, if you will, then the cartels and the other illegal activities drop down considerably. I mean, amazingly low, Sean.
So you can effectively control the border.
You can secure the border, and that's what we shared with him today. I said, Mr. President, you can secure the border. We've done it. We'll show you how to do it. But I said, you really can't do it unless you allow the National Guard to come in and to play a very prominent and visible role, move that Border Patrol. And he agreed with this philosophical thing. I'm not sure the president understood that Border Patrol is sitting back about 40-45 miles now with their checkpoints. So when the illegal activity occurs, whether it's drug running or whatever it might be, and people are apprehended, and we're not interested in apprehension. We're interested in prevention. And that's the reason that being on the border, our DPS troopers, that surge that we put into
You're
place.
Up close. You're
we're
on the border.
Tomorrow,
Yes.
You're going to be on the border.
I'm out with
and
you.
In the river.
We're going to be in the river. We're going to be up in the air. We're going to be out on a boat, and we're going to go up close and see it. Is this the trip that we're going on tomorrow? Is that the trip that the president should be taking?
He would be very well served. Not only politically, because he thinks it's a political photo op. It's not. It's about real people and real issues, a humanitarian crisis that he has the ability to stop.
Let me ask you about that, because the president repeatedly mentioned the supplemental. He's requesting of Congress, what, $3.7 billion for this specific issue.
And I might add, less than 2% of it is for border security.
Okay, that's the point. If you mentioned a humanitarian crisis, if this is a national security issue, in other words, if people...
Of which it is as well.
If it is, would he not then therefore have the authority and the responsibility, frankly, to secure the border for national security reasons? And couldn't he do that on his own?
I certainly think he can. I think that he could direct the DOD to put Title 32, which is where the federal government pays for these. And he keeps going back to that, you know, the Republicans in Congress just won't work with me, and they have to fund this $3.7 billion bill. And, you know, I was like, Mr. President, you can deal with this. You can unilaterally direct the Department of Defense to put those troops on the border, to do that work. And he starts talking about a philosophical issue that he may or may not have with that. And we're past that. If you want to send the message to those Central American countries, to those families down there that are hearing messages, if you'll just send your children up to the Texas border, have them cross, they can stay in America.
Let me ask you this. He said parents need to know that it is dangerous and it's unlikely their kids will stay and the majority of kids will be sent back. When you look at the money, Senator Coburn said for $8 million, you can fly every kid home and reunite them with their parents. Yeah. Why do you think he's requesting all that money if none of it's going to solve the underlying problem, which is that the border's wide open?
So the supplemental from my, look, I haven't gotten into the weeds on this, but from my perspective, the supplemental isn't about securing the border. The supplemental is about something else.
What do you think?
And you'll have to get the president to tell you what he wants those dollars for.
The likelihood of that, Governor, is not very high. But I mean, $3.7 billion is a lot of money.
It is a huge amount of money. But again, Sean, when you start talking about less than $100 million of that is going to go for border security?
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Let me ask you this. So you got to spend a lot of time with the president. Give us your read on him. Does he understand the severity of the problem? Does he seemed to be kind of complaining a lot about Republicans, blaming them. Yeah. If everybody agrees, and you said the president agreed to secure the border, and the Republicans agree to secure the border, why don't we secure the border and do the one thing that everyone agrees on and then deal with the other issues later?
And this isn't a Democrat issue or a Republican issue. This is an American issue. I mean, when you have Henry Cuellar, you had two other...
He's joining us later.
Two other congressmen from the Valley, Vela and Hinojosa, that both sent a letter to the president asking him to come. So this is a bipartisan ask, and it ought to be a bipartisan fix. And I think that's the thing that stuns me as a governor who has to deal with Democrats and Republicans in Austin, Texas, is I don't always get everything I want. As a matter of fact, I can't think of anything that I've got 100% of. And the president needs to address this issue.
Is he playing politics here?
You know,
we got to take a break, but
the president can fix this unilaterally with a direct order to the DOD to put the National Guard, and not a more powerful message can be sent to Central America than that.
All right, we got to take a break. We're going to come back. We'll have more of Governor Rick Perry, and then later on tonight, the crisis that is unfolding in the Middle East. We'll check in with the great one, Mark Levin, as this edition of Hannity